Welcome to the Accu-Trade VIN-dow podcast. This week, Robert says stop getting welded into trades and start making wholesale profits.
You know, it's undeniable that there's certain companies that are publicly held that have proven to be the largest volume retail sellers of cars in the world, not just the United States or Canada, but the world by far. It's not even close. In Canada, there's a company that's really successful at doing what they do. They retail cars all over the country and they export a lot of cars. And the one thing similar with all these folks is, brand helps, but more importantly, 100%, they understand the profit margin in wholesale. Even if we don't sell your car, we want to buy your car. That's a really good tagline. Everybody either uses it or mimics it. But for one reason, a new car dealer doesn't necessarily look at every car to understand who the best end user is. They look at it, well, if it's not good for retail, then we have to sell it for less to something else. And if we made a profit, it's a sin. Now, when you look at, if you talk about the large publicly held companies, and since they're publicly held, you can actually see very clearly where the profits are, and not very much in service, but definitely in finance and definitely in retail sales, but then definitely in wholesale profit. So if CarMax on average sells X number of thousands of cars per week, wholesale, definitely not retail. We sell them on a good week 40 or 50 cars, and one of our auctioneers is their auctioneers at their largest auction, and he actually can see when a car that we sell them, for whatever reason, when it gets there, they don't want it, goes into the auction. And when we look, we can see that not even sold at a loss, it's sold at a profit, and it's an easy over and done with circumstance. So the cars that they do buy from the public, of course, those cars are purchased at an advantageous price because of the process that they put the consumer through. It's 45 minutes. They put it up on the lift. They drive it. They do all kinds. They come back with a very official looking, and it's good for 7 days. Very official. And now that customers invested, and even though we say, even if we don't sell you a car, we want to buy your car. One of the reasons why they take 30, it's kind of clear that the most successful, like in a big picture, companies definitely are not looking to break even wholesale. They actually recognize every car, no matter what kind of car it is, no matter what kind of dealer it is, there's a wholesale opportunity that's as clear as crystal. And it doesn't mean that you didn't give them enough money for their trade, so we can open up the gates wide to overtrade cars. This goes back to the practice on the showroom. Go appraise the car, give it to the salesman. He jumps up out of the chair. 2 seconds later, runs back and says, "Boss, you're crazy." The dealer next door gave him $40,000 more for the car. You got to give me a realistic price for the trade. No rationality, no process, no pictures, no this is why, this is what it's worth. None of that. And now we're in the desperation of, oh my God, he might go next door and get 40 grand more for the car. And what that does is it enables you, knowing that you're supposed to lose money on cars if you didn't give them enough money. We enable the manager to actually not be afraid of overtrading the car, because we had to do that to make a deal. You wind up welding. You can hear the arc welders in the background. They're getting warmed up in order to, well, what's it going to take to make a deal? Well, you don't know what you're doing. I'll go close this guy. Right. And Mr. Jones, I sit here with you. You're not happy with our trade. Somebody gave you $1 million more for your car. What's it going to take? We're here to earn your business. Tell me what it's going to take to, you see, anybody that's in the car business understands and has listened to that deal and versions of it. Versions, obviously, there's rainbow dealers all inside the rainbow, different personalities, et cetera, different methodologies, different managers. So they all have their own way to do it. But it's okay to lose money on the trade. Now, when you're face-to-face, hand-to-hand combat, now everybody's going to do everything digital, right? Nobody's ever going to go to a dirty car dealership again. We're going to do it all online, right, including the trade-in, right? In other words, what you wind up with is a process when you're trying to compete with the other one. It's going to eliminate car salesmen and beep, beep, no more salesmen, right? In other words, when you're dealing with that circumstance, you've basically set the field for absolute and total giveaway, welding act, right? Because it's okay not to have a process in place that if you trade a car for what it's worth, it's perfectly acceptable. I mean, obviously, we've been in the wholesale business for just under 50 years. We're the folks that actually buy the cars, and honestly, we've never had a year in those 50 years where we didn't make serious profit. So it's obvious that it's possible with the same cars that a dealer's trading to make a wholesale profit. Now, the fact that you've deflected it or ignored it as a dealer, a franchise or non-franchise dealer, non-franchise I don't think fall into the same category. Actually, they do grind out the best they can because obviously they're in a different circumstance. They don't have tractor trailers dropping off new cars in front of them. They got to go pick and high and hunt and do whatever they do to pinch their inventory. So they're not in the circumstance where you're actually really in a position to trade a car for what it's worth as opposed to trading it from fear. Is it making any sense to you, Shawnee, me boy?
Yeah, so the trading from fear part makes a lot of sense. The process to take the trade in makes sense. And then obviously if the largest volume retail seller's doing it, and anytime I'm in the US down in Florida, you hear the ads on the radios like, give us a chance to beat the CarMax appraisal. It must mean that they are offering as much for the vehicle as they possibly can. That means they're kind of setting
or at least enabling the tricks, and at least you're dealing with a person on a hand-to-hand combat circumstance at that point. It's the opportunity to, and don't forget, once you got them on the phone, it turns out to be a little bit of a personality thing. Some people are honey, others are vinegar. You follow me? So once you get to that point, it's skill set, right? But the theory somehow that we're perfectly happy if we don't make any money wholesale. Again, if you look at other folks that would obviously shoot themselves, actually their stock would be worthless if they were in that position. Is really I would call it the evidence. But just do one thing. Everybody that could have the inclination to listen to this torturous conversation has a auction access number. Therefore, they can log into Manheim.com. And if they can log into Manheim.com, you can't actually go observe a CarMax auction, or unless you're on, if you're on their simulcast, Velocicast in Laurel, Maryland, you'd be able to see it on Monday morning. Don't think many people have the inclination to do that. I'll tell you what most people would have the inclination to do is to log into Manheim Express, where very few dealer cars convert. However, all Carvana deals convert. And what you're going to see is Carvana has learned that wholesale actually is way more interesting than retail. Of course, they'd never admit to it, but it happens to be a fact, right? So when they are buying cars from the public, we don't know exactly the percentage of cars that they keep that are being bought from the public, but I'll tell you how you could start to extrapolate some things to enable the common sense about what's happening. Log in on Sunday, and you'll see that every car has the reserve met. That means they ask too little. What happens when you ask too little, Sean? You get too much, don't you? You know why? Because you entice all piranha. The piranha effect is on. Blood's in the water. Everybody has the anticipation that they're going to get an unreasonably good buy. Now, that creates multiple bids on every car because everybody knows, even though they can't sell it for that price, they're saying they're going to sell it for that price, and they will sell it for that price because that's advertising. You have to put blood in the water. If blood's in the water, all cars get sold. Turns out that platform works like a dream for Carvana. You know why? They place it there. If you watch on a Sunday, you go in quick into those cars. If you happen to have the extension, the Accu-Trade extension, you'll see it. We'd pay 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 8,000 more for those cars on the initial shot. But what that does is, over that weekend and into Monday, and whenever it ends, I don't know what time it ends, 2 or 4 o'clock, whatever it is, it's right there on the thing, you're going to see that there's always bid. Now, what you have to do is look down at the bottom bid. When they said it's sold, it's 6.4. It's at least 2,000 less, because what you did is you invited somebody at the wholesale level to say, geez, these people are nuts. They're never going to make a profit. No. What they're really done is they've actually captured your ass for you to believe this story that everybody tells constantly. Well, this is a fake thing. This will never work. Well, no, maybe not. These are some of the smartest people in the industry, and they've actually gravitated to what we've always known. If you ask too little, you get too much. And now it turns out to be completely functional. And don't forget, CarMax has been doing this all along. You never see them run a car off the money, ever. That's why they convert 99%, 100% of the time. In other words, the only reason there's a no sale is because the car blew up on the auction block or something. Otherwise, the bitch is getting sold. And what that really does is it ensures that the participants will never experience bidder fatigue. Now, the fact that you got to wait 3 days for it to happen on Manheim Express with Carvana, it's, and you can put your alerts on all the rest of it. But when you do that, if people had the inclination to understand, it's not sacrilegious, it's not anti-biblical to make a wholesale profit. You really will not go to hell if you make a wholesale profit. You might just open up your eyeballs and find out on your financial statement, as opposed to plus or minus 20 grand. If it's plus, you're going to be chastised because you made a wholesale profit. You probably missed deals. Biggest bullshit stories ever occurred in the history of the world, ever. Doesn't mean when you offer what a car is really worth based on a dent and a scratch and lack of previous paintwork. So it doesn't mean bad Carfax. Doesn't mean that you're going to go to hell. It means that you offered a fair number. Now, the dealer doesn't have to just let the guy walk because you offered a fair number that's totally rational. And on our platform, a used car invoice shows it perfectly clearly, so that the salesperson doesn't have to jump out of the seat the second he sits down with his new best friend that while the car was being appraised, found out that the customer also wears plaid. You wear plaid? I wear plaid. We must be related in a previous life. This is amazing. And now here you become the bearer of bad news when you come back with I thought my car was worth so much more. Don't worry, sir. I'll see what I can do for you. I'm on your side. I'll work for you. Here comes the welding machine with no rationality behind it whatsoever. None. Zero. You see what I'm saying to you? And then we fit into, well, boss, we traded a bunch of cars. I think we're going to have a terrible wholesale loss this month. We put them on the E-block. We put them here, and we got the most we could. But you see, if you own them wrong, no matter who's selling the car on any platform, right, you're never going to make a profit because as we already know, you make profit when you acquire, not when you expire, right? Now, when that car is on a little curb, the profit was only made when that car was brought in. Or some tricks were done in this F&I department, of course, whatever. I'm talking about raw gross profit buying and selling a car. You follow me? It's made when you acquire, not when it's going out the exhaust pipe, you see? And as a result, to answer your question in 7,000 words or less, Johnny, a process that enables a really clear pathway to making a significant wholesale profit on any car. On any car, it doesn't matter what it is. This is where also the opportunity that exists that very few dealers efficiently do in their service drive, actually do an appraisal, and a real appraisal, pictures and highlight damage, etc. So folks in the showroom could actually understand if there's an opportunity to touch those people. Big dealership doing 100 ROs a day, it's 100 opportunities a day, and I guarantee you they'll convert higher than the average conversion of the leads that get into you by all the lead generators. You follow me? And more importantly, it's under your nose. In other words, you got the keys. It's in your heated garage. To actually make an attempt to understand debt to equity, and then what opportunity you have, new or used, to make an offer. You came in your car. Would you like us to bring you your new car? You follow me? This is an incredible. Some dealers that are doing it fairly well. There's Auto Alert and Automotive Masterminds and different ones that are doing it, but they're not doing it the way we're talking about doing it. The vast majority of great opportunity is on a mileage or condition challenge car sitting in the service department that you obviously have no interest in retailing. I'll give you a quick story. It happened yesterday. A dealer that uses our platform in Florida, I think they have 16 rooftops. They do every car that comes through the service department. Happened to be a Nissan dealer. And the Nissan Titan was in for service. And it had a blown motor or whatever, a bang in a motor, whatever it is, right? And, the tool valued it for X because of the motor noise. And, of course, the opportunity at that point to buy it for an advantageous price, because the consumer's looking at whatever, $12,000 to put the motor in, right? Says, Jesus, I'll take your offer, right? Takes the offer, drags it directly to the local Manheim auction, puts it on the auction block, and it picks off $15,000 in profit. Who would it get sold to? We see it's similar circumstances in Canada. In that case, that car is going overseas. It's an exportable car. It could be Nigeria. It might be Costa Rica. It could even be on the west coast of Florida, going to Cancun, right? So a dealer that would have no concept whatsoever of who the best end user is until you put it in an arbitrage marketplace. Now was of course, that throws things out of whack when we're talking about trying to lose money on every car that you wholesale. You see what I'm saying? So the antiquated concept. I'm not saying they're wrong, because if they're in business and they're successful and all the rest of it, they're not wrong, because they're happy doing what they're doing. The question becomes, are we going to hide in a closet and No, not hide in the closet. Are we going to cover the sun with your thumb to say the sun's not out? You can do it. Put your thumb directly in front of your pupil and say, Jesus, it's dark out. The sun's not out today. Or you could recognize by taking that thumb off, yes, the sun is out, and it's very bright, actually. It's a beautiful day here today. And actually, the facts then can be revealed. You really can have an extraordinarily profitable, I guarantee you more profitable than the parts and probably the service department, wholesale department, if a process is in place that is completely transparent, built on absolute transparency, never taking advantage of anyone, including yourself, of doing business based on ignorance, not having a platform to reveal, and then converse with or show the platform online or in the dealership of why they're getting X, Y, and Z for a car. There's all sorts of studies online. If something comes online from a third party, people tend to believe it. You could be the most reputable entity in the world, but if you are the purveyor of not an opinion, but some sort of a validation, it remains, even if it's not subliminal, in the person's mind that it could be, well, this is a flim-flam. I'm not sure I know this is true. In this instance, it really is a third party with skin in the game that really would, ensure the value for X amount of money. That helps people understand that this is true, real. Now, if the dealer wants to go the next step, and is enabled to say, I think I can give you more and give another $2,000. That's entirely up to the dealer. But then he has his trigger on the arc welder. Let him weld himself in. At least we let him know, dangerous tool, right? Danger. You get the skull and crossbones on here. Stay away. High voltage. You follow me? If you do this, you go and knock yourself on your rear end, right? If you're not protected and your eyeballs aren't covered and so forth, right? It's going to be dangerous. All we're saying is we're giving you that capability of understanding what you're doing and how you leverage it. We never would tell a dealer that this is the only way to do it, but there's no purpose in not using it to find out if you're able to leverage it to trade more frequently for an advantageous price that obviously, depending on the platform that you're interested in using, smart auction, I don't care what it is, put it anywhere you want to, because if you own it for the right money and you ask too little when you place it in the marketplace, it's absolutely guaranteed you're going to get too much. We're going to do this in 6 minutes on the auction block in Manheim, Pennsylvania. We're going to do it again tomorrow with 500 cars. We definitely never ask too much for a car. In other words, we're going to ask too little to find out exactly what that bitch is worth in the next 15 seconds. And 94% of the time, we're selling it. And it's not for a wholesale loss. Typically, if we sell 30,000 cars this year, Yeah, we're definitely going to lose on 1,000 of them, no question about that. But the aggregate will definitely not be on the negative side. If we're capable of doing that for many decades, actually living off the fact that if you're not trading the cars for too much, you're not trading enough cars. We live off of that, right? Any wholesale entity lives off the fact that a dealer is not capable of finding a. Listen, if CarMax can buy cars from us and wholesale them, they must have a fairly robust market. The reason they have a robust wholesale market is because they put it into a pure, absolute auction circumstance 100% of the time. That puts the antenna up of all participants. This is not some sort of sissy game that is not going to turn out where the best end user is revealed and somebody says, no, that's an if sale. No, we need more. No. That's bidder fatigue. That's where bidder fatigue actually creates the opportunity for other marketplaces to actually show up and potentially be an alternative, right? No, it's clear as crystal. You just have to take maybe a little different focus, a different prescription on the glasses to recognize it. And when you recognize it, if it remains blasphemous, if it remains, non-biblical, then you can keep doing what you're doing. I personally think that's a foolish choice.
Thanks for joining us. Join us on Clubhouse every Thursday morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for a weekly discussion about this week's podcast. On Clubhouse, search for The VIN-dow.